Hey everyone, my name's Cory. I'm going to talk to you today about a few ways to manage your mental health and well-being during the current situation. So unless you've been living under a rock, which might have been for the best, you'll be aware that COVID-19 has affected the whole country and the whole world. And I'm going to be talking about a few of the ways that it might impact us, also adjusting to that change, so finding calm in a crisis, also about restructuring our lives, and a few other things to be aware of. So this has been the largest upheaval that most of us have ever experienced, particularly in this country, in our lifetimes. So we find ourselves in a situation which is completely new. There's been no guide to this. There's no blueprint, and we also don't know how long it's going to go on for. So it's going to be presenting some real challenges to our sense of well-being, our sense of mental health, and also just the position in which we see ourselves in the world. So I'm going to talk a little bit about those. So let's take a look at the ways the situation affects us. So our health is of course a big obvious one, as well as our stability, so our finances, our jobs, the economy, and also social distancing. We've had to change the way we interact, the way we go about our day-to-day lives in a massive way. And I'm going to refer to Maslow's hierarchy of needs just to give a little bit more explanation into what I'm saying here. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs shows a pyramid theory of human motivation. Essentially, once the lower needs are met, we are motivated to satisfy the higher up needs. So what we can see here to apply it into this context is that the COVID-19 situation has thrust many of us, regardless of where we were, back to the bottom of this pyramid. So worrying about our basic biology, our health, and also number two, so worrying about our stability. Our finances have been affected by this. There is worried about paying mortgages, paying rent, worried about do we have a job, what happens to our industry, and these are the things that have allowed us the stability to think about the higher up needs in the pyramid. One thing I think it's important to remember, especially now, is that there has been no blueprint for this. We haven't been prepared. So if you feel like your life has been knocked off kilter a little bit, you aren't alone in thinking that. Usually with events like this, there is at least some degree of social learning for us to use, but we haven't had that. The first concept I'm going to talk about today is the concept of patience. And I'm sure we've heard the word patience many a time in various situations. I want you just to think about what the word patience actually means and what it means to you. So just take a few seconds here just to reflect on that. Okay, so by now you've probably got your own idea of what patience is, and here's the definition of patience. So when you were thinking about your definition of patience, did you think of the word acceptance? And acceptance really is key in being patient, because none of us have answers to any of the deep questions that are being asked of us at this time. And our minds can be so good at sending us down that rabbit hole of what if, how long will this last for, what if this never ends, what if this, what if that, what if and it can get so overwhelming. And it's times like this where we really see how important patience is. There'll be ups and downs, and that's normal. And being patient is a way to keep ourselves centered, keep ourselves balanced, or at least just to keep ourselves safe when the world around us is unpredictable. That brings us to our first exercise. So we're just going to spend 1 or 2 minutes just going through a guided meditation. So some of you may have done this before, and it's just a way of getting ourselves back into the present, recentering our body and our senses, and also practicing being patient. Let's be still for 1 to 2 minutes and see how that feels. Simply stopping. Let's begin by taking a moment to allow your body to settle into a comfortable position. You may now close your eyes or keep them slightly open, allowing the spine to lift, the shoulders to soften. Today, we will practice simply stopping. Begin by taking a full breath in and a long breath out. Notice what it's like to just stop, to simply be still and present in this moment. You may notice thoughts, bodily sensations, sounds, just noticing what it is like to be alive in just this moment. Simply stopping. Each time you find the mind somewhere else, play with inviting a sense of stopping. Let's continue practicing like this for a little while. And as we near the end, finishing with a deep breath in and a long breath out. Now bring yourself back into the room, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, take a deep breath in and slowly open your eyes. And you've just completed the minute to arrive practice. Let's shake it off. Okay. Hopefully you feel a bit more relaxed after that. Maybe your breathing and your heart rate will slow down. Maybe your muscles feel more relaxed and you're carrying less tension. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about needs and getting our needs met. So we've got many needs. Our social needs, meeting people, our physical needs, which is using our bodies, our emotional well-being. When our needs aren't met, we can feel things like loneliness, lack of motivation. If we don't get enough sunlight, we can lack vitamin D. We can feel like we have a low mood. We can feel unfit in ourselves, and it's even more important now for us to be creative in finding ways to continue to meet our needs, even when our structures, our jobs, social clubs, shops, we can't just pop to a friend's house, our gyms. Without these structures, it's on us to really find ways to do that. So how do we meet these needs? The first thing I would say is to create a routine for yourself. Now, some of you may or may not be at work, and if you're not at work, I'm not expecting you to create a full day's work for yourself. So when I say create a routine, it's just creating a sense of purpose for your day. One thing that you can tick off, one thing that you can achieve, one thing to perhaps base your day around to give it a bit of structure. And that can have really great benefits for our sense of purpose and our sense of well-being. Included in that is eating regular meals and also eating a balanced diet. I don't need to tell you the benefits of eating a balanced diet, but it can be so tempting when we're feeling bored or unmotivated just to graze on food that's not going to be doing us any favours. So, make the right choices there. I'd also suggest getting outside when you can. So we're allowed to go out currently one time per day for exercise. And so I'd suggest using that wisely, timing it for a period of the day where you know that your energy might slump or that you might be getting fed up of being indoors. That could be the morning for somebody, it could be the evening, might be during the day, but it might vary, but just make it at a time that works for you. And if you aren't able to get outdoors, that's okay. I would then suggest even standing by a window, looking outside, having that connection with the outside world. And if you're lucky enough to live somewhere where there are other people around, then that can also foster a sense of social connectedness in a time where loneliness can be rife. Okay, I'd say reach out to your friends and family and your loved ones. It's so important. We are really lacking that sense of we can just pop round to the friend's house and connect socially with people in a way that we used to. So there are many ways to connect now. We're actually in a great age for doing that. There are video call services, there's social media messaging, and there's still the good old phone call. So reach out, don't be alone. Okay. And also perhaps one thing is that with people now being at home, unless you're a key worker, you actually might find that your need for getting a bit of alone time, a bit of me time, has been compromised. So I'd say communicate with the people who you live with. Be aware of perhaps when you need a bit of time to yourself, and you can work out a way of achieving that, and also being mindful of their needs too. So communication. It's even more important when we're confined to our households at the moment. Another thing I would say is learning something new, so this really hits those kind of higher level esteem needs that you saw earlier in the hierarchy, esteem and mastery needs. In creativity, it's such a powerful spark to your sense of well-being, and it doesn't have to be something wholesale. We've all seen people saying, I'm gonna learn German in the next 2 weeks, and it's probably not going to happen. And so be easy on yourself. First and foremost, you can learn a simple thing like, for example, something around the house, something in DIY, and perhaps you've wanted just to learn a little bit about poetry, or perhaps you've wanted to cook something or bake something. There's so many things out there, but it's so important to keep our minds engaged during this time. So we're just going to go on to now a short exercise. It'll take about 5 minutes. So I'd say, if you can, grab a pen and a pencil and paper, a pen and paper or a pencil, or you can do it on your phone or on your computer. It's up to you. I just want you to, I'm going to pause now for about 5 minutes, okay? And then just make a list of the things that you've always wanted to learn more about. If there's nothing you can think of, then perhaps make a list of jobs around the house that you've been putting off. And maybe you wish that you had the time to. Yeah, so I'll leave that to you. So for the next 5 minutes, really reflect. And if part of that is actually, I need to rest, that's okay too. It's not always about doing stuff. Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that. And I'm now going to go on to our third and final part of the video. I'm going to talk about these, not phones necessarily, but digital well-being. You go onto your social media app of choice and post, there's news, there's comments, coronavirus, it's everywhere. It's every time you turn on the TV, it's about coronavirus. So the first thing I would say is to really watch out for how much time are you spending. One, absorbing information that's probably only going to make you feel bad and despair. It's not about being blind to the facts, but it's all about how much of this do I need, how much of this can I take, how much of this is good for me, so bear that in mind. I'd say in 2020, we're so lucky to be really connected as we are, but there's also a flip side to that. Our devices provide our main method of communication, and if you're working at home, the chances are that you are spending a lot of time behind a computer screen, perhaps also with a phone screen, and maybe also with a TV screen. I'm not going to tell anybody. Um, but that's a lot of time in front of a screen, and too much screen time is linked to higher anxiety, depression, and also sleep disturbance, particularly on your mobile phone or a laptop. There's a setting called a blue light filter, and I would suggest you turn that on because the blue light has been shown to affect our circadian rhythm, which is our sleep patterns. So if you find yourself struggling to sleep, struggling to get a good night's sleep, feeling tired in the morning, that's a good place to start, really. Okay. So limiting your phone use, especially if you play games, if you have like children or people in your household who play a lot of games, also be mindful of that. I would suggest taking time to do something else, to switch your phone off or at least leave it in another room and really focus your energy. If you think about what happens when we are on the phone for a prolonged period of time, how much information is firing back and forwards between the screens and our brain. Every new thing that we see as we scroll and we scroll and we scroll and we scroll and we scroll is a new signal being fired to our brain. And it's important to take a bit of time out, unplug yourself from that, engage with the reality, really engage with the outside world a little bit, and that will have wonders. It will do wonders for your well-being. So I'm going to do one final exercise with you. It's just a very short one to get you back into engaging with the physical world around you, to get you back into the present, and to hopefully help you to regain a sense of balance when things might feel like they're getting a bit too much. So I'm going to just talk you through this exercise and then do it for myself, and then I'm going to throw it over to you to do this in your own time. Okay, so whenever you're feeling anxious, you can do this wherever you are. So first thing is I'm going to name 5 things that I can see. I'm not going to see what I can see on the screen, but I can see the web camera, I can see photos, I can see a rug, I can see a throw, and I can see cushions. Okay, and now I'm going to name 4 things that I can feel. So I can feel the chair on my back. I can feel a slight draft on my right thigh. I think from the window, that's a jar. I can feel the rug fibres under the soles of my feet, and I can feel how my jumper is resting on my shoulders. 3 things that I can hear. Okay. I can hear the whirring noise of a fridge. I think I just heard a bird outside. And I can actually hear faint voices outside as well, which actually I wouldn't have heard that if I didn't stop and pause. 2 things that I can smell. It's also a hard one for me. Okay, I can smell the cooking that I'm about to do. And actually, yeah, I can smell a little bit of tea, lemon and ginger. And one thing that I can taste. Yeah, again, I can taste the lemon and ginger tea that I've been drinking. So that was it. And that's super easy. You can do that at any time. And if there's any ones that you can't do, for example, seeing or hearing, smelling, I would just say spend a little more time on some of the other senses. There isn't any right or wrong answer. The aim of it is to get yourself back into your physical being. Our senses are telling us information all the time, but we're often so externally focused that we forget to pay attention. And doing this exercise can just help us to recenter ourselves and find that balance. And once you find that balance, actually, it's a lot easier to complete the tasks that we have ahead of us. So thank you for watching today. Hopefully you find exercises to be helpful for you, and yeah, I wish you all the best and stay safe.